Welcome to Amplifying Recruitment. In this episode, I'm joined by Saeed Bor. Saeed is a recruitment ops and recruitment technology expert. He's one of the few experts that will tell you that process is more important than technology. In this episode, we unpack everything recruitment tech and how you can implement some of these things into your business, whether you're a solo recruiter or a much larger blue chip organization. There's stuff that you can learn here. Saeed, welcome to Amplifying Recruitment.
Hello, mate. Thank you for having me.
For anyone that doesn't know you, will you do like a really brief introduction?
Yeah, sure. My name's Sai. I'm a twin dad who specialises in recruitment agency operations, lifelong Queen's Park Rangers fan. After a long time on the tools as a recruiter, became an ops manager because I knew how to use Excel. And then I moved my way up to COO of a recruitment business, very fancy title. And then for the last 2 years, I've been working with recruitment agencies, advising on all things operations.
There's two things that like spring to mind for me when someone says your name. And the first bit is I've heard you referred to multiple times as the CRM guy.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, and maybe we'll cover both of these off, is this thing that you bang on about, and I mean that in like a good way of, is it process is better than tech?
Yeah, process over tech.
Yeah. Okay. And weren't you threatening to get that tattooed?
Yeah, I did. I think I need 79 more likes on my post, and then I'm going to get it tattooed. So
excellent.
Anyone finds that post, get a like on there.
We'll put the link in show notes.
Yeah.
Amazing. So will you tell me a bit about that then? So process is greater than tech. What's that all about?
Yeah, I think it came from, so my last full-time job, I was working as a COO at Campbell North, a hedge fund recruitment business. It had gone through 2 years of just phenomenal growth. I'm talking like back-to-back doubling NFI. And the usual stuff happens, right? You're hiring loads of people. You're not really managing them really well. You're just you're just living off the market being good. And then when I joined in December 2022, and by January, the market, like literally the arse had fallen out of the market. And in my head, I was like, God, I'm the last in, big salary, etc. And then everyone's mindset when the market took a turn, not just at Campbell North, but everywhere, was what tech can we get? What tech's going to help us? What tech's going to solve the problems? And I just kept on hearing about people buying all these new tools, which are all great tools, by the way. I've got nothing against RecTech, but what they were doing was taking really like shiny bits of kit, like Ferraris of technology, and giving them in the hands of people without provisional licenses, people that are saying crap things on the phone or not putting enough activity in, and then expecting results. Which is why I always say process is more important than technology. Because actually, before we had tech, we had £500,000 billers. And what did they do that on? They did that on mobile phones, and by the process that they followed and what they said and the relationships they built. So that's where the process over tech thing comes from. And then I use the greater than sign. And then I just put a post out yesterday talking about it and trying to use an analogy. And it's like the process is the car, the vehicle that gets you to where you need to get to. The tech should be the fuel, the turbocharger, the nitrous oxide button from Fast and Furious. So yeah, that's where that comes from. But I honestly couldn't. I'm the biggest advocate for that mindset.
I think I know the answers to this. Well, I've got a thought process on this. What do you think though? Of like, why do people chase, or why do recruitment business owners, business leaders chase technology rather than defining process?
I think it's easier. Everyone looks for silver bullets. I think that's just a thing in life, right? There's entire industries that exist off the back of it. Like, what was the Ponzi scheme? Herbalife shakes, like everyone, or Weight Watcher tablets, or everyone's on Manjaro jabs now. It's like we all chase silver bullets to try and help us achieve our goals. So I think there's an element of that in there culturally, where we do that as a society anyway. But I think from a recruitment agency standpoint, it is easier to go buy some tech and blame the tech for not working than it is to look really intrinsically at yourself about how you're training, how you're defining processes, what your expectations are. Managing suppliers is a million times easier than managing people. I always say that, which is why I promote outsourcing certain things. But when it comes to recruiter performance, I think it's that silver bullet chase. I think it's just like, we can't face the harsh reality that our people are probably not good enough. And actually, what do we need to do is probably invest time in training before you invest time in tech. And that's my standpoint on it. But it's been going on for years now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there you obviously work with a lot of different recruitment businesses and you speak to a hell of a lot of recruiters. Is there like a common theme of process inefficiencies that you see on a regular basis?
Yes, I'd say the biggest process, the biggest step in a process, in a recruitment process that I think is lacking out there in the marketplace is qualification calls. So not necessarily the process of recruiting, but that step within sourcing. I think that is the one where there's the most opportunity to gain stuff. People don't qualify as well as they used to. I don't think we have lots of closed questions or communications over emails and WhatsApps, and I'm doing a CRM selection process at the moment, and one of the first requirements that came out of the sales floor was we need a WhatsApp integration. I was like, yeah, I mean that's really useful and nifty to have, but I was looking at some of the notes that are coming out of the qualification calls. I was like, well, now we're missing so many tricks there. They just said that they spoke to another recruiter about another job here, and you didn't even ask them what role that was for. So I think that step in the recruitment process is the most criminally undertrained, underperforming step. It's where the biggest gap is and the opportunity to become better is. And in terms of efficiency, process efficiency, communication with both contact and candidates, there is such a lag and disparity between agencies as to how often they stay in touch with people and how much they're willing to communicate with people. And like I design note types for agencies which kind of drive best practice in terms of communication. So a candidate journey should be qualified, then probably a follow up to check in and keep them warm, interview prep, interview feedback, interview prep, interview feedback, pre offer call, soft closing call, and then a final offer call. So if I look at a candidate record on whatever CRM it might be, I want to see that that candidate has been through that journey, and then I'll believe that we can get them closed if we said the right things along there. But if a deal drops and you've missed out prep calls, feedback calls, soft closing calls, your qualification call notes didn't cover everything, I'd say that's where the failure is.
I see something really, really similar in the businesses I go into. The pushback is often the candidate doesn't want to speak to me. They want to be communicated with on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Again, like I've got my thoughts on that. What are yours? If they're like, no, that's what the candidates want. Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want. Do you know what? I get it, and what did we used to call it? I was my friends. I grew up in a working class area of London, and my friends used to laugh at me for my level of code switching. And I had like an alias. My alias was Simon Rob, which is just playing around on Saeed Bor, basically. But like you do have to play to your audience, right? And we do that anyway. We do that as salespeople, right? They probably do it when they're BDing, and they end up speaking to an older white gentleman that probably likes rugby and maybe votes Tory. People go a bit different. You have to, right? And I think you do need to do that for candidate because it's important for relationship building, etc. So if they like WhatsApp, cool, communicate on WhatsApp, but use it to get you on the call with them. Like you can't control your process, and ultimately your job is your role requires you to control it, and you're not going to get the outcomes you want if you let another person dictate what they want. That's my view on it. So use it, but use the WhatsApps, to give them the small updates, give them a little bit, but then be like, I'll tell you more when you can catch up. Let me know when you can have a call. That's how I always say to play it.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. Have you got an example of like the process improving the tech or the use of the tech in a business? Like you must see that happen quite a lot. You got the technology, but actually let's refine the process and then you get more out of the technology.
Yeah, note takers, AI note takers are everywhere. A lot of people just turn them on and they just rock and roll, and it's good enough actually because it's capturing the call transcription and summarizing it to a good level. The best thing I saw was when we talked about this agency was struggling with business development, and when we broke down the BD process, what we identified was a lack of market knowledge and market intelligence to know where to go after the work. We were sitting there going, they've just done deals. They've got consultants getting promoted over at that competitor agency. How are we not knowing about all this stuff? And they were really a reactionary agency. So what they started to do was into their qualification call note type, in the qualification call template, it included a whole section, early doors, about how's the market, how's it going. And we spun this story that was, we can always tell when we speak to candidates how good the market is by the volume of calls or emails they're getting about jobs. How's your inbox been, Mr. Candidate? And then all of a sudden it's opened it up for a conversation. Yeah. It's so easy, isn't it? It's just so simple when you think about it. what we did was we built the note take. We built that into the qualification call note. Then the note taker learnt that we were gathering intelligence in that first bit. And then the more they did it, each note type spun out a load of intelligence at the top, which they could then go, right, we'll go action that. That feeds our BD funnel, feeds our BD process. That's probably the best one I've seen. And I think AI note takers, if you're not using one by the end of the year, I think you are probably being left behind. They're so accessible now. They integrate into every CRM. And if people are a bit shy about getting on the phone, and then recruiters have never liked logging things on the CRM, why fight two battles? I'd fight the battle of getting them on the phone and let the tech take over the rest of it.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's interesting what you said there. That if you've not got one by the end of this year, you're well behind. I think you've even got one now.
Yeah,
you're well behind. And there's, like, we're seeing at the moment such a wide range of views on AI, and because that's a form of AI, isn't it? Right, the note taking. And we've just done a piece of work with a very large agency, or we're partway through doing a piece of work with a very large agency. And on the first call that I had with them, they said something really interesting. They said, we've just lifted the ban on ChatGPT, and I was like, say what?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, no, we banned it across the business because we didn't want to produce lazy people. I was like, wow, that's it's such an extreme take on it. I find that interesting.
And a trust and a lack of trust in the people's that they employ's ability or intellect or like savviness. How mad that is. A mad one.
Yeah. Have you got a like a, I don't know, a framework, I suppose is probably the right word, for like defining or refining a process before you integrate some tech? Is there like a thing that you go through?
The process mapping workshops I definitely go through. They don't look the same, like, if I'm honest. I know that our industry is, and I think the world is filled with, playbooks. What's the other term? Like frameworks, playbooks. Everyone's got these things that they follow. I tried to build one. I genuinely, when I first launched the business, I was like, right, this is going to be my process mapping framework that I'm going to follow. I'm going to do this. It's going to fill out this table, bang, 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 bang. And then I was like, hold on a second, this just doesn't work. I went to use it for the first time at an agency, and I was like, nah, this is just mental. Because people themselves don't know the process end to end. So the workshop has to be a really human, communication heavy experience, so that you have to have conversation, you have to prod and poke, and sometimes you get the information out of them, you get the end of the process out of them first, and then you get the beginning of it later, then you summarize it and connect it all together. So no framework as such. I guess I would always follow the same sort of steps in terms of the first three I'd look at is your sourcing, your BD, and then how you manage the recruitment workflow, CV sent through to offer close. So they're the three that I would do. And I try to map them start to finish, each step. I rate it on quality myself, and I never tell the client there and then, but they'll say, right, we'll qualify a candidate, and I get access to the CRM. I'll open the last 5 qualification notes and have a look at how good they are. I'll often ask for them to send me their billings beforehand, so I can see who's billing, who's not, and then look at the comparisons, try and analyze what the connection is between maybe CRM process adherence to billings. And there is a correlation, maybe not the top billers because they are anomalies, but in general, the people that are logging things the most, following processes the most, are the ones that are delivering results. So no framework as such, but I'll always do process workshops, really, really whiteboard, draw loads of different colored pens. I tested ChatGPT with one of the photos of my whiteboard sessions the other day. Nah, it didn't work. Didn't like my writing whatsoever. It has made me now want to write more neatly on the board. So now all of a sudden I'm changing how I behave so the AI likes it. And it's just gone around the other way. But no, process first. So map them. And I think those 3 core processes, if you don't have them documented and mapped right now, I would 100% go away and get started. All you need is a pen and a pad, or a bunch of colored pens and a whiteboard, and a few people that work there.
I find that really intriguing what you said about the top biller. They're an anomaly. Keep them out of this. Mm-hmm. I think that plays across so many different areas, doesn't it? Like we see it with training of like, well, this is what Dave does. Like, well, forget Dave. He's billed £500,000 every single year for the last 15 years. Just forget him. Let's look at those people that are struggling to bill 150. So if someone's listening to this, right, and maybe a solo recruiter listening to this, and they're going, yeah, do you know what I could do with like refining my process, what's the steps that they should do? And like, you kind of alluded to some of it there, but like, what's the, like, tell them what should they do?
They should start with BD process, for example, and just go, okay, what is the trigger point? What is that bit of information? What is the thing that happens that means that I can chase this down for it to result in a role for me to work on or a new client to work with? Write that first bit down, then write the end bit down, which is placement or invoice paid, invoice paid even, and then do your steps in between. Now do it with loads of gaps, and then just start working out actually, and then write the associated tech underneath. So it might be interview lead from a qualification call. Okay, brilliant. Next exercise is add that to my CRM as an opportunity or a lead. Go to LinkedIn, map the managers, use Lucia, contact out to get a phone number. Maybe it's add the person into an email sequencing campaign whilst you put them into your cold call list. So it's like tracking each of the steps there. That's if you want to just map the whole process out. If you're really stuck and you really want some more guidance on it, you can look at yourself. Take your last three placements. So take the last job you won and go, how did I win that one? Take your last sourcing effort. How did I find that candidate? And then take your last successful process management. So from CV sent through to placement. And what did I do in each step of the way that led to that being a successful outcome? So you've got the data. It's probably in your head. You know how it works because you've done deals before. So just lean into that and map those out, and then go, actually, if I'd done that, more of that, I probably got more out here. That didn't work. Let's do less of that. And I recommend refining these things quarterly, like always looking at how you're working. If you're a solo, you should definitely look at your last 3 deals, or hopefully you're doing more than 3 deals a quarter, depending on your market size, average fees, etc. But always look at 3 deals. We used to do an autopsy every quarter on deals dropped. We were obsessed about deals dropped because it was, by deal drop, I mean offers not accepted. And we used to obsess about it. And it was called an autopsy. And it sounds a bit grim, but going back through and working out what did we actually miss here, and actually highlighting that to the rest of the team. It's not a dig out. It's not a, you're getting dragged across the coals for the offer dropping, but it's like, what can we learn from this so it doesn't happen again? Right? We all don't want this to happen again. So yeah, solo recruiters listening to this right now who are thinking about it, just map out the processes for your last 2-3 placements, and that will tell you your process, your successful process.
Okay. What do they do if they're completely different? So you map out my last 3 and it's like, right, this happened, it was this step, yeah. And actually over here it was completely different. And this one was a kind of like a mix of some of that and then another little different thing as well. Because I reckon there's some of that in not just solo businesses. But...
Yeah. Quite often when I go into agencies with different teams and stuff, there are different ways of working. So for that solo, you might find that it's a specific role type or a specific client that requires a different type of process. If you put them all next to each other and then draw like the median line through that process, you'll find what your median process is between all of those. But actually, I'd go one step further and go, which of the things in each 3, let's say there's 3 different ways of doing it, which of those things are the easiest, cheapest to do as well, because cost is a factor. There's lots of profit pressures at the moment for people. What was the easiest, quickest? What was the cheapest? And try and replicate it that way. Because if doing something without using a contact out credit or a contact scraping credit gets you a conversation, then why spend the 50 quid on doing it, especially if your 50 quid is going to make a difference to your P&L. So that's probably what I do. I try and draw out the median process between the 3, but then also look at, of the activities, if 2 things get me the same result, which one's easier, which one takes less time, and which one's cheaper.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to want to flick back to something you said earlier. So you said we were looking at implementing a new system, and the sales floor was saying we need a WhatsApp integration.
One of the first things they said.
So how much involvement should the recruiter have? If you're a recruitment business leader, I don't know, 20 heads or whatever it is, how much input do you get from the team?
I think historically in our sector, there's never been enough, right? And I've recorded some skits with Chaos Visuals, and one of the skits was me being the agency owner and then me being me, and the agency owner's going, "Oh, I just bought this new CRM. No one's flipping using it." And then I asked him, "Oh, right, did you tell him you were buying it?" He's like, "Nah, of course not. I own the company." It's like, did you pay for the training for them? He's like, "Nah, that costs too much money." It's like, so I think involvement from the sales floor historically has never been done. People are a lot wiser to it and do include them. I would say it's really important to include them. Like if you take a 20-person recruitment firm, let's say you've got one owner, one ops person, and maybe an admin or finance person. So that's 17 recruiters against 3 like directors and back office people. Typically the director and the back office people are the ones involved in the project. So when you think about who's involved in it and shaping it, it's so imbalanced. That's not to say you need to get 7. That's not to say you need to get, you know, little Connor from Beckenham, who's been in recruitment for 4 minutes, to come and give you his opinion on it. I'm not saying that's needed, but maybe
because he would.
He's like, here, Si, I think we need a WhatsApp integration, mate. I'll build loads next quarter if we had a WhatsApp integration. But no, like I think it's important to include them. And I think my recommendation was always like, have a bit of a committee from the sales floor. So like get them involved early, be like, right, this is what we're doing. This is what we're hoping to achieve. And we need your feedback. Like I do process workshops with different people of different seniority. Those processes, and whilst I'm doing it, those processes and I identify the gaps, the blockers, what takes loads of time. Was with an agency the other day. There's this rookie who's there, phenomenal. Like she's working weekends off her own back. She just wants to make so much money. Like absolute dreamboat, like junior person to have in your business. Takes her 11 minutes per interview confirmation. She's booking 13 interviews a week. Can you imagine the time she's spending doing that? And then because of the system they use, if you send it through the system, it doesn't appear in your sent items in Outlook. So she's like not confident that it's gone. So she's doing it through the system. Then she's sending it herself through Outlook. She's like, I want to do a good service for my client and candidate, and I can't risk it having not gone out. So I do those sessions to bring them in, uncover their pain points and requirements. That's what forms the requirements list for a new CRM. But yeah, to your point, I would have someone from each team, potentially different levels, as a committee, involved a little bit at the early stages. Like I think the directors and founders and ops people should whittle it down. But once it's whittled down, I'd get that steering committee, to use a fancy term, to come in. And in that committee, I'd have people that hate the CRM. Like I would have someone in that group who doesn't like CRMs. Like someone, you know, every office has got them, right? There's some moany bastard in every office that's just going to complain about anything that you try and do.
Yeah.
You want him or her in there because actually they will uncover the problems during the projects and the implementation that will come out later down the line. So you're better off having them early doors. So yeah, to answer your question, they need to be involved, not early doors. Definitely a few of them, few representatives of them through the process, because it's going to help land. Plus, if they're involved, whenever anyone is involved in defining everything, and I'm sure in L&D you use this where people commit to their goals and therefore they're more accountable for it, same principle applies. If people are committing or contributing towards the decision of a CRM, the setup of a CRM, they're more likely to be champions when it's out and on the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. So just in technology in general, bit of a broad question. What's really impressed you over the last 12 months? What have you seen that gone, yeah, shit, that's a game changer. That's really good.
I sound so basic, but like the note takers, man, I just think I'm so envious of recruiters these days. Do you remember, like it was when I started in recruitment, we didn't even have headsets. You just had like a desk phone, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you were doing that and you were writing, you were like putting CVs out in front of you and all that sort of stuff. And I don't want to be that guy that sits here and go, back in my day it was tough. It wasn't that tough. I actually think when I was in recruitment it was all right. You could, as long as you could build relationships, you were okay. But I think the fact that you can 100% focus on a phone call, listening to every little onion that they're dropping, so you can peel it away and find more stuff and build relationships and all that stuff. I think that's huge. I think that's massive, because you should just be focusing on that call. I sound so basic, but I love the AI note taker stuff. I can run my business without it. I've got Quill. They kindly gave me a license, and it's like it goes to all my meetings. If I can't attend a meeting, I'm on holiday, I send the note taker, come back, and I've got the notes, I've got the video recording, and it helps me catch up. And I do a lot of project meetings and catch ups, and it's so good for just pulling out all the action. So I think that's a game changer from a productivity standpoint, because that used to be a person's whole job. Someone used to go to meetings, write the notes, send the actions.
Yeah.
Now it's everyone. I join meetings now and there's 6 note takers on there with 6 people. So for me, that's been a big one. I think one of the things I really rated last year, which I'm really anti now this year, I know you didn't ask me about what I'm anti about, but
I was about to.
oh yeah, just email sequencing. Like I think it's just such white noise. It was such a good thing like a couple of years ago. You know, all of a sudden you're going to automate that third and fourth email, and you know you're going to get something back off of it. Like, so I think all the stats say that it's the third, fourth, or whatever email. But I thought it was so powerful, and then it just got absolutely rinsed, and now it's just absolutely just white noise in the background.
I think the problem there is people see through it now.
Yeah,
You know, like 2 years ago, when you'd go, I won't mention any names, but there's like you'd use that piece of software, and you go, right, that's it. I know what's going to happen to that person for the next 3 months, and I get these emails, and it could be personalized to an extent, but it's been done to death, right? And I think the person on the receiving end, whether that's candidate or client, they're not going, oh shit, look, Si sent me a really nice email again this week. They know that it's, and the minute someone knows that it's automated, for me, it's lost its power.
And I actually think it's reputation damaging. So I think it's gone like the other way, because I think if your name is associated with, just an automated sequence that I've been thrown into, the association of fucking, this guy doesn't even rate me enough to write me an email or pick up the phone and call to me. Like I get all these emails all the time. I've got a folder in my Outlook where I just capture all of them, and I've got a separate one of some of the good ones that almost got me, because there are some that do almost get you still. But yeah, I think for me, the AI note-taking stuff is amazing, and what you can do off the back of it within recruitment CRMs, like note takers can now update fields, can create tasks, move things to Hotmails, prepare CV sendouts for you. Like, I think that sphere of technology, the note taking, the actions off the back of it, that stuff is super, super impressive. Like, if I was a solo recruiter now going back into it, that's like the first bit of tech that I would set up. I'd go get a VoIP solution that came with a note taker, integrate it with something that helps create all of my tasks and stuff. But I mean, the CRMs are moving that way now. Like Mercury have got some unbelievable AI features coming up. Bullhorn are talking about their Amplify roadmap. I don't think anyone knows what Amplify is yet, but it's exciting that they're investing money in that space. Job adder in my inbox at the moment wanting to show me their AI roadmap. So it's an exciting time for technology in the recruitment in the recruitment sector. But I go back to the first thing we talked about. Like, you can buy all the shiniest kit in the world, but if no one knows how to use it or no one knows how to do recruitment, it's still going to fail.
Yeah. What's the most overhyped thing at the moment?
Overhyped thing. I think everyone's going mad for the ChatGPT just in general. I think a lot of people are going absolutely mad about it, and I think rightly so in some instances. It can do a lot of very cool stuff, but I think it's just getting used in silly ways. People that don't have, I think if you don't have the ChatGPT premium license, I think that data that you're putting in there is just completely available to everyone else in the world. So I don't even want to think about the legalities and compliance issues that come up with the data that we deal with. A lot of people don't know that. And I don't know the nuance behind it, but you can pay for a certain subscription, which means that there's a mirror, so it's just yours. I just think people use it for the wrong things. I think it's just overhyped. It's like, oh no, I'll just get ChatGPT to do it. I get ChatGPT to do it. I'm probably on the wrong side of it. I probably don't get ChatGPT to do enough for me. I got it to do like funny pictures, caricature pictures and things like that. But I could probably get it doing a lot more stuff that would help me in my business. But other people are just like, I'm just going to throw it all in there. And actually, again, I think you lose sight on it's there to augment and help, but not for you to spend your whole day on it to create stuff. Like, what we're doing with what we're creating is my question. So I think just the general ChatGPT hype. But I don't know, someone said to me the other day, why are you so anti-tech for someone that advises on tech? I'm not anti-tech. I'm a recruitment purist. Like, I love nothing more than, like, when I go to client offices and I hear people on the phone bowling around the office, you can hear them soft closing or alternate closing interview times, all of that good stuff. Like, I live for that. For me, the tech is like secondary to it and needs to underpin it. But yeah, to answer your question, I think the over reliance on ChatGPT for everything, like, sometimes it's quicker to just write the email, lads. Like, you don't need it to write every email for you. But I think that's where founders are also probably guilty, if I'm honest, because they go to the REC event, or they go to the expo, or they go to, one of the many events that happens, and it's like, you need to use AI. Come on, start using AI. And then, someone will give an example of how they've really used ChatGPT well for an isolated scenario, which makes sense. And then that founder goes back and goes, lads, we're going to be millionaires next year.
Yeah.
If I don't, have you heard of ChatGPT? And it's like, right, you could use it for this, you can use it for that. The amount of time and productivity that must be wasted by people trying to nail down prompts is wild. At an event I went to a few months back, which is hosted by TRN and Job Adder, really, really good event. And actually, one of the agency guys there were talking about they have their own internal AI committee. So rather than lads, OpenAI, ChatGPT, have at it, they've gone, we're going to work it out. We're going to work out all the prompts. And we're going to be like, right, if you need to do this, use this prompt. If you need to do this, use this prompt. So again, it takes away the reliance on Connor from Beckenham to try and work out how to solve some of these things, when actually now you've got a founder who's more experienced, an ops manager, a bit more tech savvy, building all of this stuff out for you. So I like that approach to it.
And giving Connor a process,
And
right?
give exactly to follow. Yeah. Connor's getting it today.
I'm from Beckenham, like I said. Where do you think we're going with this? Like, what do you think, like, the next, this is a bit of a big question, I suppose. I don't know if you can answer this succinctly, but like next 3 years, where do you think we're going with tech? Like, what are we going to start to see?
Yeah, I got asked this actually the other day. I was in the pub though, so my answer was probably a few more words. But I really like, I'm keeping an eye on all the agent stuff that's coming out. Where agents are just working for you, behind you. I don't like the term agent though, because it makes, I don't know. I watched Matrix, right? So, I don't. When I hear agent, I just think of the guy from Matrix, and we all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping an eye on that, because I actually like that concept, that if you have a digital or an AI worker working alongside you constantly, understanding your needs and going off and doing it, I love that idea. That's amazing. It's just having a digital PA or digital assistant with you. So I like that. Do I think that that's gonna take over what we do in the recruitment sector? Probably not. I think again it will just be a productivity killer, so a productivity enhancer, because rather than having to go to ChatGPT to run all these prompts, the AI agent will go and do that for you off the back of your meeting notes. So I think AI agents will make a difference in terms of productivity, getting things done.
Are you seeing anyone use that yet? Like businesses you're working with?
No. Although one of my clients has literally in a meeting last Friday said, we have this process as part of our executive search service we provide to our clients. It's costing money. What can we do to? There's got to be some tech that can solve it. And then Cowpesh Baxi. Have you ever met Cowpesh? Yeah. Cowpesh is obviously Mr. RecTech, and everyone calls him Nokia because he's always connecting people. He's brilliant. Honestly, he's one of the best blokes I've met since setting this up. He's really into the tech space, and he's introduced me to some people that do this sort of stuff. And he's got something coming down the track, which looks amazing, and it's around the agent stuff. So I think it's coming. I'm not seeing it anywhere yet. But where do I see it going? I think the value in relationships is, I think we've already been on the upturn of the importance of the relationships. I had three conversations this week about, oh, it's tough. We're not getting in there. The stuff that we're doing is not working. And it's like, when was the last time you went out and met people? What relationships? Who can you pick up the phone and they answer it and go, hey, Sai? Like, where's all of that stuff?
Yeah.
So I think the market is going to shift back towards relationships. It already has been, and I think it will carry on doing so. I think poor recruitment is just going to get punished, because when people get it right, get the tech right to do all the non-human facing stuff, the gap is just going to get massive. So if you're not good at doing this, the human stuff, you are going to get found out quickly. So yeah, I think the importance of being a good recruiter is going to be more important than ever. Relationships, and then the nailing of the productivity stuff. I think it will be almost like you don't even need your hands. I think once the AI agent stuff kicks in for the recruitment sector, I just don't even think you'll need to think. I think you'll finish a call and it'll go, that's a send out. That's a diary invite. That's a follow-up task. Update that candidate's coding and categories. Update their last, next date available. I think it's all going to be no touch at some point. Frightening to think about, really. But if you're not asking good questions and getting good information on that call, what's the AI agent got to work with? Nothing. So
yeah. I agree with a lot of what you're saying there about that. I say this a lot in the sessions that we run, is that any AI should be used to increase the amount of human to human interaction that you're able to, like the example I said to someone recently is like, back in the day, like war story stuff, you had to have 2.5 hours of talk time every single
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And like that was mandated, top down kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like you don't really have that in many businesses anymore. I don't see some, but not many businesses measure call times and that kind of stuff. Whereas actually, what I think you'll see is that recruiters using AI really effectively and all these tools really effectively is they'll just have 2.5 hours of talk time
Yeah.
because they haven't got all this other crap to do, and they'll be able to go out and meet someone for breakfast and go and meet someone else for beers after work and still spend 3 hours on the phone speaking to other humans because all that other crap's taken care of.
I think it'll also when you had to go when you had to come into work and find 2.5 hours on the phone, you'd come in and you wouldn't have a diary full of calls, right? You just come in and be like, right, I'm going to call the database, I'm going to spot call, or I'm going to go through my emails. Someone said that they can talk at tomorrow. Then you message them, what time tomorrow? And oh, in the morning. Okay, well, I can't do the morning. Can you do the following day? All of that crap, like you're talking about, goes. But I think with the emergence of AI, automated booking systems, calendar sharing, all that sort of stuff, I think you'll get to the point where you come in and you don't even have to find the 2.5 hours. You'll have 2.5 hours of calls in your diary.
Yeah.
When I used to work at a quant finance recruitment firm, first thing we used to ask on a Monday, that business was very, very like ahead of its game. It was using Lemlist and things like that way before anyone else was. We were getting data directly from the source, like paying a guy to run JSON queries to get where all these contact scrapers get their data from.
Yeah.
We found out who they were, and we were like, well, they were querying their database to get all these software engineers from the top 10 unis in America. And so we'd take them out, put them in a Lemlist, get them in a campaign, come in every Monday morning. Our Monday morning stand-up meeting was how many calls are in the diary. And that was it. And it's brilliant. These guys just start the week with like 10 calls in their diaries. And these are 100 grand placements, right? So our average fee was 109 grand or something silly like that. So I think it's going to get to the point where they were doing that 3-4 years ago. Like I think now with the emergence of text and being able to proactively nurture people and get them into diaries, you'll come in and you'll do the 2.5 hours because it's already in your diary. I just don't know. You'd have to find time to do cold calling.
Yeah. What's the bits that you think then? You've kind of answered some of this, I suppose, but what are the bits that you think are screaming out to be automated? And then what are the bits that like have to stay human?
Yeah, note taking, as we've mentioned, I think that's just an absolute no-brainer. I like RPA, so the robotic process automation stuff that you've got out there. Dwight, who's Dries DaCosta, and the guys over at Meet Dwight, that's a phenomenal product in terms of what it can do. So I think RPA, again, I'd almost go as far as to say, if you're not using RPA by the end of this year, it doesn't have to be Dwight, it can be any other RPA solutions that exist out there. But if you're not using RPA...
Will you just break that down for anyone that doesn't know what that is?
So RPA is a robotic process automation. So essentially, you can build a robot or a digital worker, as they call them, to follow exact steps that you need it to do so. So it has login credentials and it can jump in and out of various systems. It can send emails on that behalf, etc. So if there is a process, like the most common one and the one that I think should be automated, is compliance and onboarding. I think compliance people should be a little bit worried. I do think if you're a compliance person, you should be a little bit worried in recruitment because there's so much software and technology, even before RPA, which is probably the more cutting edge or bleeding edge of that in our sector. You're collecting documents and you're checking documents and you're uploading documents. Like that is definitely a job that can be replaced by technology. So I think you've got to think about what you do or what your compliance people do in your agency. I actually think compliance people who help getting references should be lead generators because you build, they're on the phone collecting references.
Absolutely.
What a great chance to build, get some market intelligence. So to answer your question, I think onboarding and compliance of contractors is an absolute no-brainer to be automated. Like, I just think it's mental. You can design these processes now to be so slick, so nice. The experience for the contractor plus the experience for the client can be designed to be so smooth and so nice. There's nothing worse than like, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, you forgot to send this. Oh yeah, you forgot to send that. Oh yeah, that's out of date. All of these interactions that you have to have and the noise around it. It's like, design a nice form, send the form out. If it's not filled in, automate a follow up. If they haven't filled that in, nudge it again. In the message, say, hey, you can't start on Monday until you send this. All of a sudden, oh, I can't start, better send this. There's so much stuff you can automate on a compliance and onboarding process. I think it's mad to have too much human interaction in that. I think there should be a point of escalation. We haven't got their documents. They're starting on Monday. It's Friday. That's probably too late for a point of escalation, but there should be a point of escalation where human involvement gets in. But yeah, that process for me, yeah, I think something like an RPA solution to automate the capturing of that, storing of that, uploading of that, yeah, it has to be done. And by the way, you still see agencies all over. I go to some agencies, compliance teams are massive, and I feel like I'm doing them out of a job here. But I love all the people I work with that are in compliance, and their knowledge of what's required when you need to get it is fantastic. Yeah. But that knowledge can go into a form, and actually you could probably be doing more high value stuff. Same as the recruiters, like don't do admin, go do the more high value stuff. Same thing for your compliance and ops people. Like if you're going to take that away, I'm not saying do it and reduce headcount. I'm saying do it, but okay, you got someone that knows your process intrinsically, knows your market, knows your people, has been doing this for a long time. What could we be doing with them that's going to add more value? Onboarding calls with people, like check-in calls, like how you getting on first day, got everything. Oh, who's the best person you're working with? Oh, is they really good? Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Anyone else hiring? All the stuff that you get them to do to feed your sales cycle again. Yeah, I think it's mad that that's so manual at the moment.
Cool. One thing I do want to talk to you about before we wrap up is around like how can we use tech, or how can a business owner use tech to improve forecasting? And so by that I mean like over the last 2 years, that if you was to I think if I took everyone that I've asked this question to, like how's the market been, they'd go like up and down, like feast and famine. Maybe not that extreme, but it's up and down. And that's almost like a surprise to people. Oh shit, we missed Q2. And is there tech that you can use to help forecast? And I think like some of the stuff that you were talking about earlier of where you map the process, and I know if this bit doesn't happen right here on that pre-close call, or if this qualification piece, actually the deal percentage probably goes from this to this. Is there something in there that can look at some of that for you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the CRMs have their own analytics or reporting products. There's a lot of people leveraging Power BI now, Microsoft's Power BI. I used to think of Power BI as like an enterprise bit of kit. I was like, there's never going to be something that we use in recruitment agencies. And now you see it everywhere. Yeah. There's products like OneUp. I love like OneUp is, I love OneUp. Like it's probably the product when the market took a turn that I saw move the needle the most, because people you couldn't hide behind it. So you either looked at the data and went, oh shit, that's really, really bad. Hey, why is it really bad? Oh, I forgot to log it. We'll log it then, because now we're looking at it here. So all of a sudden you had user adoption on systems because you're being held accountable from analytics dashboards. But to answer your question, any analytics product set up correctly should be able to help you predict what that's going to look like. You can build trend dashboards, you can build forecast dashboards on these things. You could just look at the snapshots from previous months and go, okay, that month, these are all our key activity numbers. That's what we churned out in billings, and that's when the cash hit the bank account. You can build these things yourself as well. But I think having a good analytics product in the middle of your business is alongside your CRM is so important. It helps user adoption on this. It helps drive usage of your CRM, but B, it shows you not only it'll help you identify skill issues or will issues. I talk about that a lot when I go into agencies. It's like if the general input, the total dials is low, that's a will issue, right? Get on the phone, do some more, etc. Who else can we call? What else can we try and do? But if the number of minutes on the phone aren't converting to jobs, or minutes on the phone aren't converting to CVs out, that's a skill issue, right? We need to work on what you're saying, who you're saying it to, all that sort of stuff. So that stuff helps you kind of become better and improve. And then it shows you what you churned out. But also what you can then do is go, if we improve that ratio by this much, the number that churns out at the end as billings goes up by this much. So yeah, there are loads of products out there that can do it. I'm a big fan of OneUp and Power BI. I think CRMs don't often get it right with their analytics product, which is why things like OneUp exist. But yeah, 100%. It's the reading of the data that people can't do. I've recorded a pod with Derry from OneUp recently, after years of advocating for his product, and we were talking about it. It's the reading of the data. That's where people get it wrong. They can't understand the relationship between certain numbers in the dashboards and how that relates to the money at the end. It's an art, and one that I pay my mortgage with.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Is there a particular data point or metric that is most important, or
I like CV to first interview. I like CV to first interview and probably first interview to placement. They're probably the two that I like from a recruitment metric standpoint. CV to first interview, do you know your market? How good are you? Like, if you're a 1-for-1, if you're close to 1-for-1, I think that's good. You're in a niche type market, you know who's good, and I think it shows your knowledge of your space. First interview to placement, how well do you manage processes? How good was the job for me? My favorite ones, though, ultimate favorite ones, are the ones that are like activity to outcome. So like how many BD calls you have to do to get a BD meeting or job on. I like the ones where it's like activity getting you something, rather than the recruitment ratios.
input,
Input
outcome,
out.
right?
Yeah, that's it. I'm more interested in those because I feel like process stuff we can improve. We can design, we can talk through, we know how to get deals done, because hopefully you've done a few deals in the past, so we know how to do that. It's just how do you improve your output, and what we're saying on those calls, or what we're saying on those emails, who are we saying it to, that stuff. So yeah, input output more important, I think, than recruitment ratios. But of the recruitment ratios, CV to first interview to placement for me.
Brilliant. All right, thank you. Right, final question.
Mm-hmm.
We're sat here on, what day is it? 26th. Is it 26th? 26th of June.
Yeah.
The football fixtures come out in a couple of hours. Right?
Yeah.
Where are QPR going to finish in the league this year? And you've just announced a new manager as well.
We have, yeah. I can't actually understand how we've managed to land him either. For those that don't know, he's the ex-Rennes manager who's managed Dembele, Camavinga, and people like that. And now he's going to come and manage a different Dembele. Yeah. I think we're going to finish. I think we're going to challenge to the playoffs, but I think we'll miss it. I think we'll go 8th or 9th this season. We've announced more QPR ladies transfers in so far this transfer window than we have done for the first team. And so I'm itching to hear what happens. But I'll be doing Millwall away again. And you'll have to come Loftus Road.
Should we have a friendly wager on that as well?
On both the fixtures?
Yeah.
Win and a draw for QPR. Win at home and a draw at the Den.
All right. Let's have 20. I tell you what, why don't we do an aggregate over the two legs?
Okay. Yeah.
And the loser has to stick 20 quid in the other one's charity.
Okay. There we go. £20 charity. Aggregate. I like it.
Top man. Thanks for your time, Si.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.